Ladies and gentlemen, dear speakers, and very welcome our new Spanish ambassador, Consuela Femina. Very welcome. We are very honored you're here tonight. Bienvenido a la Biblioteca Pública Amsterdam. That's about all I'm going to say in Spanish. I'm sorry. I will do the program. The rest of the program will be in English, but the recording will be subtitled in Spanish. So if you miss something tonight, or the public at home, we will also have a recording with Spanish subtitles. Welcome on this very special day, International Women's Day. You can't miss it. My name is Mayte Carrasco, and I'm the cultural programmer at this library. We are very honored to be able to host this very special event organized by our dear colleague and partner, Pilar Tena, director of the Instituto Cervantes Utrecht, in collaboration with EUNIC. Thank you very much for having this program here. Theme this year is women and journalism. Could we have chosen a more urgent theme in these troubled times we are living in right now? I wish you a beautiful Women's Day, despite everything, and a very interesting evening with our inspiring guests. Dear Consuela Femina, Ambassador for Spain, may I give you the floor. I hope you have a pleasant evening.
Buenas tardes, good evening to everyone. It is a pleasure for me to be here, a real honor to be here at OBA to celebrate the 8th of March. It's one of my first activities here as ambassador, and I cannot start in a better location and occasion. Instituto Cervantes has organized 4 consecutive editions of International Women's Day, choosing for every of these occasions a specific theme: women and books, women and art, women and science, and women and music. This year, the theme is women and journalism, a topic of the utmost importance, since similarly to what happens in other fields, women journalists have to make greater effort to be seen, to be heard, to be read, to obtain positions of responsibility, and so on. In addition, seeking a bigger audience and a connection with the Netherlands, for the last couple of years we have collaborated with our colleagues from the EUNIC Netherlands cluster, and we have sought to involve Dutch women relevant in the field discussed every year. We have invited European and Dutch journalists to speak about the role of women in journalism and the media, from their different and wide perspectives, such as the challenge faced by the profession, harassment on social media, equal opportunities, special problems for women in certain areas of the world, or women journalism in conflicts. We also appreciate the enormously essential support of the Openbare Bibliotheek Amsterdam in a rich program of collaborative events that we have been holding for the last 3 years at the OBA, the institution from where Instituto Cervantes operates here in Amsterdam. I really thank the management of OBA for this opportunity to visit the library and to celebrate this event here. Today's live program, which is being streamed online, will consist of a roundtable and the screening of a documentary made for the occasion. A 35-minute documentary with 2-minute videos recorded by women from Spain and the different unique countries. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you to the persons that have made possible this event, to the panelists that will intervene, and to the persons that are participating in the video. Thank you very much for your attendance. Good night.
Well, I think it's my turn now. I am Pilar Tena. I'm the director of Instituto Cervantes in the Netherlands. And I will be moderating the evening and acting a little bit as a conductor of what is going to happen here. The ambassador has already said a lot of our thank yous, and of course, I don't want to repeat myself, but I do want to thank also the Embassy of Spain, its support, of course, EUNIC Netherlands for their support as well. It's more than a support. We really are co-organizing and working together in this on this from the beginning. Also, I want to thank some particular partners in EUNIC, some embassies and institutes that have been particularly enthusiastic and particularly helpful. And of course, the main thank you is to so many women that you will see now the documentary a little bit later on, and you will see each of these women who have given their time and their work to be part of our commemoration today. Also, of course, I want to thank the teams at the OBA, our technical friends there, and all the team here, and also our team at the Cervantes, who nothing would be possible without them. We have had some small changes in the participants. It's exciting times when things are happening all the time, and we've had some. To explain you who is here, that may be a change. Compared to what the program that we started with. Isabel Ferrer, who is our correspondent, El País and Cadena SER, the radio network correspondent in The Hague, is not able to be here today. She was very enthusiastic. She just sent me another message just now saying how sorry she was and to really apologize for not being here. But she covers from The Hague, not only the Netherlands, of course, all the news from the Netherlands, but also everything that happens in the international organizations and tribunals and so on. So she has been working very hard these last few days on different very technical issues related to the situation in Ukraine, and especially the International Court of Justice in The Hague and so on. So she was really overloaded and asked me to just let her stay home and work in her obligations, her duties. So we have every bad thing brings a good side. So we have managed to convince Alejandra Mínguez to be here instead of substituting Isabel. Alejandra is the editor of Gaceta Holandesa, which is an extraordinary magazine. For me, it has been absolutely essential during my stay here, because it's an online magazine written in Spanish, but very much embedded in Dutch life. So you don't get the usual news of Spanish or Latin American, nothing bad about them, and we want to hear that as well. But no, she gives us the news of what is happening in this country. She interviews the important, relevant people from Dutch society. She talks about Dutch issues, and that's very, very good for many of us who have not been able to learn Dutch as we should have. But we haven't been able to do it, so it's a way of reading in Spanish what we could read in Dutch newspapers. Marian Terpstra is here. She's the editor of España, which is another fantastic magazine in Dutch for Dutch people who want to visit Spain. And it's a very high-level magazine. It is getting. I have the feeling that it's getting better and better every time I read it in the few years I've been here, and it also gives, a good tool to Dutch people who want to visit Spain with a very cultivated outlook and a very interesting. Beyond the typical tourist sites or stories. Sophia is substituting here. Also, one of our changes has been that Nina Howard, the president of EUNIC cluster, was sick this morning or yesterday. I think she started feeling not well yesterday. And of course, she's tested positive in corona, so she can't be here. But Sofia, she's from the Goethe Institute, and she's the vice president of the cluster. She has quickly stepped in as well. So we have some heroines here who have managed to be here with us. Of course, Aurora. I hope Aurora is there. Aurora, are you there?
I hope you can hear me and see me.
Yeah, and we can hear you as well. That's fantastic.
Okay.
Aurora Mínguez is, for any Spaniard, you see her face, and perhaps some people wouldn't remember her name, but everybody knows her, because she has been correspondent for Spanish television for many, many years. In different places in Europe, always covering European affairs, usually covering European affairs. She's been in Brussels, in Berlin, in different places, and she's one of the faces of international coverage information in our television. And we're very grateful. I think you're in Berlin, I'm not quite sure.
No, I'm talking to you from Madrid. I left Berlin 3 years ago.
Okay.
But part of my mind is in Berlin. Part of my mind is in Paris, where I was also living and working as a correspondent for Radio Nacional de España. And part of myself and my mind is, of course, in Brussels, and of course in Kiev and in Ukraine, and hoping for the best.
Absolutely. Okay, thank you. Now I have presented all of us. We will try to get into the topic that we're going to discuss today. We have a lot of things to talk about, and we have a lot of videos to watch. So let me say that this year topic has, of course, we decided we were going to speak about women and journalism many months ago. We started working, and we never thought we would be in the situation we are right now on March 8th. This situation, this war situation, the disaster of the European panorama at the moment, combined with the pandemic, curiously enough, has accentuated a reality that I got closer to it, researching and talking to people for this event. I got closer to it, and I've been really horrified by what it is, which is the harassment of women in the social media, particularly journalists. So we are going to hear about this from a person called Javier Luque, who is by chance a Spaniard, but works for IPI, which is the International Press Institution. And he also works with OSCE, but he's going to explain to us now. He's going to tell us about an incredible documentary that he has done, and he has written and directed. And we're not going to see his documentary because it's too long, but he's going to tell us about his work at IPI. I think it should be ready now. Yeah. Javier Luque.
Hola, soy Javier Luque, director del documental A Dark Place y jefe de comunicación digital del Instituto Internacional de la Prensa con sede en Viena, en Austria, desde donde os hablo. A Dark Place, el documental, nació con el objetivo de sensibilizar a la población sobre el impacto que tienen los ataques en redes sociales contra los periodistas y concretamente contra las mujeres periodistas, porque aparte de recibir ataques y amenazas por su trabajo, también lo hacen por el hecho de ser mujer, es decir, son ataques machistas. Y este tipo de ataques, además, si consiguen su objetivo, que no es otro que el de intimidar, desacreditar y silenciar su voz, también tiene un impacto sobre todos nosotros, porque si silencian su voz, es decir, si no escriben y no cubren ciertos temas, perdemos la perspectiva de la mitad de la población mundial en los medios de comunicación, y eso nos afecta a todos, ya que no podremos acceder a toda la información que está ahí fuera y, por lo tanto, nos impide formarnos una opinión libre. Desde el IPI, desde el Instituto Internacional de la Prensa, aparte de trabajar en sensibilizar a la población sobre este tema, también trabajamos en soluciones. Y hace poco hemos publicado y hemos lanzado el primer protocolo dirigido a medios de comunicación para proteger a los periodistas y dotarles de este tipo de herramientas. Así que nada, solamente me falta agradeceros, o me queda agradeceros a todos vosotros por atender a la proyección de este documental y a la Organización para la Seguridad y Cooperación de Europa por financiarlo. Así que nada, muchas gracias y espero que el documental A Dark Place os dé motivo para un intenso debate y para que podamos arrojar luz a este dark place, a este lugar oscuro. Muchas gracias.
The link to the documentary is there. If you don't have time to get it now during the streaming, this is going to be in our YouTube channel and in Oba's YouTube channel, so you can always get it from there. It's a 12 or 13-minute documentary, and I really recommend you to watch it. But what we are going to show is a 1-minute awareness-raising video that IPI has done on this same issue, and you will. I really think it's good to watch it, because in 1 minute you get the feeling of what is happening to so many women. So I think it's interesting to see it. So this should be now the awareness-raising video. Well, as you can see, this is absolutely terrifying, and also we will see in our own documentary later on that a lot of the journalists talk about this. So it's not just a video done like that of a few people who are going through these experiences. It's something that it's happening every day to a lot of women journalists, which I think is absolutely terrible. And it is apparently the pandemic, the 2 years relying so much on information through the media, through the social media, has even made this much worse. What do you have any comments on this issue, Alejandra, that you can? perhaps?
What I can share. Well, as a journalist, what I can say maybe is that what has changed in the past years when I started working and as a freelance and now as well when I publish in print media, for instance, you feel much more protected because if you're publishing on a print magazine, there will be no reactions to what you're saying. So I kind of envy the pastimes of the journalists who would write their piece, send it to the editor-in-chief, and that was it. So right now every time you click on publish, you're exposed to what's going to happen next. And I personally haven't had this feeling of insecurity, of sexual harassment. Of course, there is a lot of hard criticism everywhere all the time. Mm-hmm. It's like if we're giving, through social media, we're giving the platform to those who in their anonymity can say whatever they want. And that of course, the risk of all this is the self-censorship. And we kind of go back to that. Mm-hmm. That's,
Marian, would you like to say something about this?
In this moment, well, I don't have experiences myself. Mm-hmm. So, what I do and always have been doing is some sort of censorship. But that's broader. That's not. But I realize that I don't write everything I want to write. Mm-hmm. And for example, on Twitter, sometimes I have some opinions, and I don't. Although I think it's important, I don't publish them because I'm afraid of reactions, and I don't know if that's always because I'm a woman. But I think, in the broader sense, we don't have much consideration with each other. And if women publish something, they're called a whore. If male are una puta in español, pero el hombre, the man will be a hijo de puta, que es menos grave. That is, it's not so bad. It's worse for the women because they are called the whores. And I think also men are attacked a lot on social media, but the words in which they are attacked are different, and women are always attacked with those sort of bruja, which is also a very loaded term, I think, because it's got a history, and women who speak out. For example, I'm not of her party, but Kaag, our minister, was called bruja, witch. Yeah. And that people don't realize that those sort of words have a very strong past, and which is very much more harassing than most words which are used for men, I think.
Aurora, no sé si can you hear us, Aurora? I'm sorry, I switched to Spanish. Do you have something to comment on this before we go to our documentary?
Well, I think these sexist commentaries existed already 10 years ago. I remember when I was working or collaborating with an internet newspaper, El Confidencial. I was reporting from Berlin, and I was also very much criticized. Some of the comments say I was pro-Merkel, and other ones where I was completely anti-German. I was a pijo progre, which is a kind of melange or mixture between being rich and at the same time being prone to the left parties. And afterwards, with this social media explosion, of course, these kind of commentaries are much more loaded on hatred. this has to do also with these very, very polarized societies, and especially in Spain, we are really in a kind of permanent war among people who are close to the right-wing parties and the ones who are very close to the left-wing parties. I think there's also a sense of frustration among men who feel very, very threatened, afraid of this power of women, of these women coping the newsrooms, not coping, unfortunately, the leading positions, but they are very, very numerous in all these newsrooms. And I think it's also very sad because to me, machism was something belonging to the post-Franco period or post-Franco era and transition years, but we are also seeing right now a kind of rise of a new kind of machism, which also should ask us about the education that we are giving to our children or grandchildren, because these young persons who are attacking women in every aspect of life, well, they are a product of we women who maybe are not taking very seriously this idea of equal rights and equal social position among men and women.
Thank you, Aurora. Sophia, would you like to comment something, or we will pass to our documentary? But I would like to hear what you think. I mean, I was so shocked when I saw this, and also what we're going to see now, where you will see how so many other women refer to this issue.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know the numbers and how bad it actually was. But when I did my speed preparation for this, I saw it. I mean, yeah, it's horrible. And I mean, the safety of journalists, like from violent attacks on protests and demonstrations, but also like in the digital space, it's really important. And it's something we see in the field of journalism, but also on many other fields, that women get so rigidly attacked on social media. And they're like there's so much sexism and misogyny there. And I can imagine that it got even worse with COVID, maybe with more people having more time to do this.
Okay, so we're going to go now to watch. Thank you, Sophia. We're going to watch the documentary that we have made ourselves with the testimonies of almost 20 women who have been so generous. Some of them were friends, people we knew, we called, everybody helped, everybody said yes, and a lot of them came through our colleagues at EUNIC, different connections. But it has been wonderful, and you will see the result. It's a very quick intervention, for 1-2 minutes, each one of them. Some of them are very important journalists in Spain, and we're very proud to have them, and very important journalists in other countries as well. So we're going to see that, and you'll see later, when we comment, you will see how each one of them did her video without any input from the others. I didn't tell them to talk about anything, we just said, just say whatever you want. 2 minutes, women and journalism, International Women's Day, say whatever you want. And it's interesting to see how there are a few themes that, a few issues that come up in many of them. But let's watch it now. It's a little bit long, but I think it's worth seeing it, and it's a very agile documentary, so I think it won't be boring. So.
Soy la primera mujer en presidir la agencia EFE, una agencia pública de noticias. A veces pienso que mi caso es de justicia histórica. Mi madre trabajaba en una empresa pública y tuvo que dejar el trabajo por matrimonio. En aquel entonces, años 50, en España las mujeres que se casaban tenían que abandonar sus puestos de trabajo en las empresas públicas y además tenían topado, digamos, las posibilidades de promoción. En algunos casos porque se consideraba que eran trabajos de alto riesgo para las mujeres y en otros simplemente porque la capacidad de decisión se daba solo a los hombres. Entonces, bueno, es verdad que ha habido otras mujeres que han presidido ya empresas públicas en España y en mi caso yo espero no ser la última y sobre todo una cosa que me gusta mucho es que esto es cada vez más habitual. Los medios de comunicación en general son, digamos, un poco el refugio, ¿no?, todavía de un cierto machismo o una cierta misoginia. Y, por ejemplo, hay secciones, las de opinión, que están reservadas casi en exclusiva para los hombres en la mayoría de los medios. También las decisiones las toman los hombres. Esto, la verdad es que yo llevo 40 años en esta profesión y he visto cambios muy importantes y muy esperanzadores. Debo decir, sin embargo, que bueno, pues en EFE tenemos todavía una brecha salarial. Estas cosas no son fáciles de terminar con ellas de un día para otro. Las mujeres cobran en EFE el 90% de lo que cobran los hombres como media y también la mayoría de los trabajadores de EFE en todo el mundo son entre un 60% de hombres, 40% de mujeres. Esto se va cambiando poco a poco. No es difícil porque es verdad que aquí las mujeres ya tienen, digamos, han accedido a ese segundo escalón. Es muy fácil ver el talento femenino, pero esa brecha salarial es preocupante. No obstante, debo decir que en los medios de comunicación en España esa brecha salarial es mayor, es de casi 20 puntos. Ellas cobran el 80% de lo que suelen cobrar los hombres como media. Pero como decía, en 40 años he visto cambios trascendentales a este respecto y yo debo decir que la iniciativa pública desde el año 2004 en España ha hecho muchísimo por la igualdad y en todas las empresas o en casi todas hay planes de igualdad como en EFE. Trabajamos en ello, cuidamos el lenguaje inclusivo y cuidamos también la imagen de las mujeres porque el hecho de que en los medios de comunicación haya habido, digamos, de una manera monopolística la mirada de los hombres, eso nos situaba a las mujeres en desventaja. La mirada tiene que ser completa, tiene que ser también de las mujeres, que complete la de los hombres y además en esa medida también hombres y mujeres son cada vez más conscientes de que debemos cuidar también a las protagonistas de la información, es decir, qué imagen damos de esas mujeres que tienen talento o que no lo tienen, pero que son protagonistas de la información.
Mi nombre es Mayte y trabajo como periodista desde hace 21 años, los últimos 12 años en Holanda. Por mi trayectoria profesional puedo decir que la situación de la mujer en nuestra profesión ha mejorado en los últimos años. Cuando yo empecé eran pocas las mujeres que estaban al frente de las principales secciones de un periódico nacional. Economía, política solían ser terreno de hombres, al igual que las principales corresponsalías, y eso es algo que afortunadamente ha cambiado. Pero por otro lado, ser mujer me ha abierto la puerta al mundo femenino de las historias que he cubierto y un mundo al que creo que un colega hombre no lo habría tenido tan fácil para acceder a él. Las mujeres, al verme como una de ellas, se han sincerado y me han aportado una perspectiva muy humana y muy universal de las historias que a menudo se esconden detrás de las cifras o de los datos. También decir que desde que trabajo como editora de Gaceta holandesa hemos tenido, afortunadamente y por casualidad, un grupo de profesionales eminentemente femenino. Hemos notado el aumento considerable de mujeres holandesas que ocupan puestos de responsabilidad, tanto en organismos oficiales como en el mundo académico. Al comienzo era más difícil equilibrar la balanza entre las voces femeninas y masculinas en los artículos que publicábamos y ahora ya no es así. Y finalmente decir que como mujer y además española, esto es algo que me ha ayudado también en el ejercicio de mi profesión porque he podido mantener mi firma con mi apellido, el mismo, durante todos estos años. algo que otras amigas mías al casarse no han podido hacer, tanto de Holanda como de Francia, y considero eso una tímida pero importante ventaja.
Hi there, my name is Angela. I'm a journalist and I've worked for a national newspaper in Italy, Il Messaggero, for 35 years. When I was young, I never felt discriminated against as a woman or as a journalist. Actually, I thought newspapers were the most open and dynamic workplace I could dream of. But reality soon set in. I remember at one of the first meetings in the newspaper, one of the big brass said, "Ladies, please cover your ears. Don't listen to me because I have to say something harsh." And he did. That was a shock because that felt outdated, backward, and patronizing. I realized he wasn't going to treat me as an equal, and he wasn't the only one. But at the time, I wasn't put off easily, so I've worked hard and I've climbed the career ladder up to deputy managing editor, which is not so common for a woman. Actually, there are a lot of women in the newsrooms of newspapers or TV show. You can see a lot of women on the screen as journalists, but beware, they're not in charge. Usually they have a male boss. And why so? Does anybody still deny that women are very good at their job? Absolutely not. Everybody knows that. In fact, it is very good for their boss to have them work hard and help them out. But another thing entirely is to let them into the war room. And, if that happens, you have to share the dominant male culture. You have to laugh at their jokes. And if you try to get across a different opinion, sometimes you're out. So I think women still have a long way to go in Italy, in journalism as in other fields. And nobody's going to let us in peacefully. We're going to fight for it.
Es maravilloso que una mujer pueda hacer semejantes cosas. En 1521, hace ya más de 500 años, el pintor Albert Durero se refirió así al trabajo de Susan Harenwood, la primera mujer artista de Inglaterra y de la corte de los Tudor. Todavía hoy el reconocimiento de su figura depende mucho del hecho de que Durero la mirara y comprara uno de sus trabajos, como hemos podido ver en la exposición de la National Gallery. Y esta reflexión tiene mucho que ver con las contradicciones del periodismo cultural. Todavía hoy son los hombres quienes tasan y deciden mayormente lo que tiene mérito, porque ellos siguen siendo más allí donde se toman las grandes decisiones y las responsabilidades directivas. Son más en los centros de poder. Hola desde Sevilla, soy Charo Ramos, periodista cultural, desde hace 15 años jefa de cultura del Diario de Sevilla. Me apasiona mucho mi trabajo. Creo que el periodismo cultural democratiza la cultura, alienta la reflexión y es una brújula que marca la excelencia. Somos prescriptores y pedagogos de los grandes tesoros de nuestra civilización y de nuestra lengua, y además lo hacemos en tiempo real, cuando sucede la creación. Por eso creo fundamental que el periodismo cultural debe también poner el foco en las sombras que acechan a nuestra realidad, y una de ellas es la escasa presencia de la mujer en los puestos directivos. Nos faltan interlocutoras en las direcciones de los museos, de las empresas periodísticas, de las filmotecas, de los auditorios. Y en este momento de revolución del periodismo esto es aún más grave, porque probablemente el periodismo económico, político o deportivo están sujetos a las mismas contradicciones. Sin embargo, el periodismo cultural siempre ha sido el más orillado, y ahora, en un momento en el que todos compartimos la realidad de la banalización de los contenidos, la dictadura del clic y el linchamiento digital, realidades que nos afectan a todos en esta revolución del periodismo en tiempos digitales, necesitamos tener muy claro el compromiso con nuestro oficio y con nuestra realidad de mujeres. Creo firmemente en que debemos defender la isla del periodismo cultural, porque también lo hacemos con el que es el patrimonio más importante del que disponemos los españoles, la lengua de Cervantes, esa lengua que ha resistido a todos los exilios, los religiosos, los políticos y ahora en tiempos del COVID, los económicos, y esa lengua maravillosa del Quijote que nos sigue uniendo en el acto de hoy. Muchas gracias a Pilar Tena, gran directora y escritora, por esta oportunidad.
Voy a contar mi despertar. Era a principios de los años 80, yo trabajaba como periodista en un programa de información en Barcelona y el director del programa de televisión me llama para anunciarme que ha decidido reforzar la estructura del equipo nombrando a un redactor jefe y que lo va a escoger de entre las personas que estamos trabajando con él. Y que yo no iba a ser la elegida, sino un compañero hombre, por cierto, un buen periodista, que además acababa de casarse, su esposa estaba esperando el primer hijo y que mis aspiraciones internacionales probablemente me iban a llevar fuera y por tanto este ascenso no era adecuado para mí. Os podéis imaginar que me quedé totalmente anonadada, sorprendida y me di cuenta en ese momento que mi transcurrir profesional iba a ser difícil, probablemente más difícil del que lo iban a tener los compañeros hombres. Esto ocurrió hace décadas, pero es que en estos momentos estamos en una situación todavía compleja. En los puestos de dirección de los medios, los puestos de responsabilidad, donde se deciden temas, donde se deciden líneas editoriales, donde se decide lo que va a las portadas, donde se decide sacar a la luz asuntos que son de importancia clave para las mujeres y visibilizarlas, estamos todavía muy ausentes. Y eso lo vemos también en los medios sociales, donde incluso hay una violencia grave, durísima contra las mujeres que están ejerciendo el periodismo y sobre todo las que están más desprotegidas, que no forman parte de redacciones consolidadas. Y quisiera también tener un recuerdo para el trabajo que están haciendo muchas reporteras en lugares de crisis, de conflicto, de guerras. Yo estuve en esos escenarios hace tiempo, pero sin ninguna duda la situación se ha puesto todavía más difícil y la vulnerabilidad que encuentran es más grave. Y este 8 de marzo, el primero que ocurre después de la desbandada internacional de Afganistán, debemos de tener un recuerdo especial para las mujeres, las periodistas. Muchas de ellas han huido, otras se han escondido, están aquí con nosotras en España, en Europa, hay muchos países que les dan acogida. Es fundamental que nos acordemos de ellas y de lo que ha sido su esfuerzo para democratizar, para estabilizar un país y sobre todo que nos acordemos de las mujeres que se han dejado atrás, que se han dejado en un país convulso que parece que haya desaparecido del mapa, donde hay millones y millones de mujeres, también de hombres, que están sufriendo mucho. Hagamos del 8 de marzo del 2022 un día de recuerdo y de acción para todas ellas.
The topic women in journalism is very complex. There already was much said about the problems that there are not many women in the decision-making positions, which is similar in Western Europe. This is maybe even worse in the Czech Republic. But there is another problem, and that's the topic why we are not writing more about women topics and why we actually don't have more women journalists, or at least the same number as we have in the field of like male journalism. Because so, if we take the figures, we have more women studying and graduating in the journalism and media studies in the Czech Republic than of male students who are graduating from the same field. But still, at the end, according to the study from 2018, we have 53 male journalists and only 47 female journalists approximately, which are covering mostly male topics. There's a lot of men in general, of course, in politics and policy-making fields. And we can see it, for example, in our new Chamber of Deputies. Now we have the biggest number of the female deputies, but it's still only 50 from 200. It is going to change to 51 very soon, but still. So maybe that's another problem, that we women are not just enough in the decision-making positions. It's not enough of us, but we as well do not cover like women topics that much as we should. The Me Too movement, which was very strong even here in the Czech Republic, changed it. For example, in our independent daily EUNIC NL, we covered it a lot. We still do. But still, if we see the articles, they are mostly covering men. The photos we have mostly of men. So maybe that's another thing we should change, and not just who is in the decision-making position there.
Quiero mandar un saludo a mis compañeros de Holanda, desde aquí, desde el Instituto Cervantes de Nuevo México. Y bueno, dar testimonio de profesiones en las que las mujeres no hemos estado muy presentes habitualmente. En mi caso es el de crítica de rock. Yo empecé a ser crítica de rock en 1993 en el diario El Mundo, y efectivamente era un mundo dominado prácticamente por hombres, había pocas mujeres. Quizá Patricia Godes era un nombre que a mí me resultaba pues con un ejemplo a seguir, ¿no? Ahora afortunadamente hay muchas críticas de rock, aunque tampoco muchísimas. Y yo creo que el gran secreto para sobrevivir en un mundo como el del rock, siendo mujer y no siendo la cantante de un grupo, es fundamentalmente, pues como en casi todo, ser muy profesional, tener que demostrar la profesionalidad más que el resto de tus compañeros, tener que demostrar que mereces estar ahí, cosa que muchas veces los hombres no necesitan. Y después yo creo que el humor. Cuando me he visto en alguna situación, que la verdad es que la mayoría de los compañeros han sido bastante respetuosos, pero cuando me he visto en una situación un poco delicada en la que se planteaban cosas no profesionales o se ponía en duda mi profesionalidad, yo creo que cuando respondes con sentido del humor, todo se alivia. Y bueno, pues feliz 8 de marzo, feliz Día de la Mujer, y disfrutar mucho de este día y aprovechar para hacer cosas que se supone que no hacemos las mujeres.
Hola a todos, me llamo Isabel López y llevo unos 5 años trabajando como periodista. Cuando me ofrecieron la oportunidad de ser parte de este proyecto tan bonito, empecé a pensar qué significa para mí ser una mujer periodista, y me di cuenta que ambos conceptos, ser mujer y ser periodista, están intrínsecamente unidos en mi experiencia. Ya desde la universidad éramos como un 70% o un 80% de mujeres estudiantes, y después, cuando comencé a trabajar, la mayoría de mis colegas y de las personas que me enseñaron también han sido mujeres. Me parece que es una circunstancia bastante peculiar y que se la debo a aquellas mujeres que lucharon por las oportunidades que tengo hoy en día, antes de que yo siquiera soñase con dedicarme a esto. Pero también creo que, pese a haber vivido en este ambiente tan propicio a que yo me desarrollase como mujer periodista, todavía una perspectiva feminista dentro del periodismo es necesaria, porque digamos que creo que todavía la desigualdad puede llegar a condicionar nuestras vidas, incluso si es en una forma bastante más sutil que hace unas décadas. Por ejemplo, me gustaría subrayar un tema que creo que afecta a muchas jóvenes periodistas también, que es la sensación de inseguridad con la que muchas veces creemos, que nos hace dudar de nosotras mismas y de nuestras propias habilidades y opiniones. Y en una profesión donde alzar la voz y muchas veces presentarse públicamente o ponerse delante de las cámaras es tan importante, creo que de cara a un futuro es importante que hagamos un esfuerzo extra en ponernos delante de las cámaras y en solventar esto para nosotras, porque pues, merecemos estar delante de las cámaras, pero también para nuestras colegas y las periodistas que vendrán en un futuro.
Hola. Soy Cristina Manzano y me dedico al análisis internacional. Soy directora de Es Global, la principal publicación digital en español sobre estas cuestiones, y además soy columnista del País y del Periódico de Cataluña. No he tenido la sensación en mi trayectoria profesional de ser discriminada, de tener diferencia de trato por el hecho de ser mujer, pero sí he visto en este campo del análisis, en donde además de publicar se celebran continuamente eventos, discusiones, seminarios, conferencias, etc. Ahí sí he notado flagrantemente la falta de mujeres, y llevo años tratando de corregir, de contribuir a corregir esa tendencia. He notado inercia por parte de los que organizan cuestiones, de llamar siempre a aquellos que más se ven, que normalmente han sido hombres. He notado cierto paternalismo. He notado también muchas mujeres en posiciones subordinadas y que por tanto cedían el espacio a sus jefes varones. Pero también he notado por parte de las mujeres ciertas reticencias, a veces por conciliación, a veces por inseguridad, el famoso síndrome del impostor, que es mucho más presente entre las mujeres. Por eso, desde Es Global y también en mi capacidad personal, tratamos de impulsar la mayor presencia de mujeres en debates sobre cuestiones internacionales, tanto en lo que organizamos nosotras, como ofreciendo nombres y sugerencias en todas aquellas cuestiones en donde podemos contribuir. Hay muchas mujeres en España y en Europa con una capacidad tremenda de análisis internacional, y hace falta contar con ellas, con nosotras, para explicar este mundo que cada vez es más complejo.
Dear all, it's a pleasure to tell my message for the 8th of March, International Women's Day 2022. The theme is Women and Journalism. I write on a weekly basis columns for RTL News. The subjects are mostly about diversity and women's rights. I write mostly about taboos and subjects about women issues. My mission is to make a change in the minds of people about emancipation. My writing is not insulting, but encouraging and inspiring. As a columnist, my job is to inspire people to change their minds or to think about it in a different way. Diversity is the key to my writing. As a woman with Turkish roots born in the Netherlands, I've experienced diversity in every way. The ultimate purpose in life is to write about untold stories. In order to write about untold stories, the most important thing for me is the freedom of expression. I would like to write about everything without any fear. As a columnist, I'm expressing a lot of anger by men. Every week, I'm a target of angry men. A strong opinion of a woman is a threat to many men. I would like to change this behavior. The real emancipation is when women are heard in order to make change. My latest column is about the Me Too movement. It's very important for women to feel safe at any workplace in the world. So, dear people, thank you for listening, and I will end this with each time a woman stands up for herself, without knowing it possibly, without claiming it, she stands up for all women. Thank you.
Hola, pues yo soy mujer y soy periodista, y tengo la suerte de que llevo contando historias desde hace más o menos 30 años en distintos medios de comunicación. He tenido jefes y jefas, siempre he podido contar lo que quería desde la perspectiva que consideraba oportuna, y siempre con la visión de que vivimos en un mundo en el que, bueno, las mujeres todavía no tenemos el 50% de todo. La culpa no la tienen los hombres, la culpa la tiene pues esta cultura y esta historia, ¿no? La tradición, estos lastres que traemos y que desde luego en la profesión periodística se han notado mucho. Sabéis que hay una mayoría de mujeres dedicadas al periodismo, sin embargo dirigiendo medios o subdirigiendo no hay tantas. Yo he tenido la suerte de estar en sitios de mucha responsabilidad, tanto en el periodismo de medios como ahora en el periodismo de empresa. Llevo como 3 años y pico trabajando para Merck, que es una empresa de ciencia y tecnología con mucho foco en la salud y sobre todo con un compromiso claro y concreto y demostrable por la igualdad. He tenido y tengo la suerte de trabajar con una jefa a nivel europeo que cree y es militante y sabe que esto no va de salir diciendo cosas, sino de demostrarlo. Y entonces, bueno, pues por ejemplo, ya más del 40% de direcciones de países europeos, de los 32 países europeos de Merck, están dirigidos por mujeres y 8 de las 12 plantas de producción que tenemos en Europa también las dirigen mujeres. Nuestra CEO mundial, Belén Garijo, es una mujer, es la única en el DAX alemán. Todo esto lo que va es creando una cultura, es creando un mensaje para las chicas jóvenes. Si se quiere, se puede. Os mando un abrazo con motivo del Día de la Mujer. Adiós.
Hola, buenas tardes. Muchas gracias por invitarme a participar. Yo quería dejar 2 ideas claras. La primera tiene que ver con la importancia de que la presencia de las mujeres en los ámbitos de poder de los medios de comunicación no se limite a estar, sino a ser. Creo que es importante, incluso decisivo, que las mujeres aporten otra manera de ver las cosas y una conciencia de lo que son los micromachismos o lo que es el estado de las cosas que el patriarcado nos ha legado, y entonces tienen que comprometerse con esos valores. Porque en segundo lugar creo que es muy importante que además no resistamos a ser solamente una especie de paripé, un escaparate o un florero de nuevo cuño. Ha sido muy interesante el reto que ha lanzado estos días la ministra Nadia Calviño, que se ha negado a estar en ningún acto donde solamente esté ella en razón de ser ministra. Yo creo que en muchos casos también hemos visto que hemos estado y estamos en actos cubriendo una cierta cuota, un paripé, como decimos en Andalucía, pero solo somos las coordinadoras, las moderadoras, las presentadoras de actos donde los que realmente hablan, tienen la palabra y llevan la voz cantante, las autoridades son ellos. Entonces hay que resistirse a eso, igual que a lo que la filósofa Victoria Sendón llamaba los arenes de los políticos, ¿no? Que a pesar de la paridad, el machismo encuentra el atajo rápidamente y se ve que los hombres siempre se mantienen anclados a los puestos impares y las mujeres van cambiando en los pares con una alegría sorprendente, ¿no? Me parece que toda vigilancia es poca, porque en general, aunque la lucha feminista indudablemente ha tenido un gran avance, estamos viendo que se están produciendo serios retrocesos y las amenazas son evidentes. Muchas gracias y buenas tardes.
Estonian media cannot quite be taken as a good example when portraying female leaders. I myself experienced this situation some years ago when I left journalism for politics. Questions about personal life were on the lips of many journalists who interviewed me. My wish to keep these topics out of the spotlight was ignored and stories were published. Socially active women are substantially less in media than men. Women are given the possibility to be in TV shows and women's magazines. They are put in the middle of topics like fashion, children, home, relationships. The Estonian media clearly act as a recreator of traditional gender roles rather than a breaker of stereotypes. We hardly ever hear of female experts. Common to all young democracies, many decisions in Estonia are often made behind the scenes, so to say, in places where you meet informally, like in dressing room after basketball game or in sauna, inevitably separated men and women. We Estonian women are 54% of population, we are higher educated than men, and we are placed second in the European Union regarding employment rate. Estonian media have to reflect it. Editorials and media houses need to have a gender policy. That is a must.
Durante los más de 40 años que he estado ejerciendo de periodista me he encontrado a veces con situaciones en que claramente se intentaba, digamos, que dejarte claro que como mujer no podías aspirar a tener puestos de responsabilidad, sino que tenías que conformarte un poco pues con ser redactora simplemente, y siempre había alguien por encima de ti que era quien te guiaba, quien dirigía el programa, quien te daba instrucciones, y tú te tenías que limitar a ser pues una periodista de a pie más. Como ejemplo, pues a los 5 o 6 años de estar en televisión española me enteré de que mis compañeros estaban cobrando un complemento salarial porque teníamos un trabajo de bastante responsabilidad. Entonces yo no lo tenía y me fui a reclamar al director de informativos y me dijo, bueno, pero tú estás casada, con tu marido gana bastante dinero, entonces pues no sé por qué quieres aspirar a ganar más. Evidentemente eso era una prueba de que las cosas no eran como debían ser. En segundo lugar, tengo que decir que en mis años como corresponsal de televisión española ante la Casa Real he podido comprobar que en el corazón mismo del artículo de la Constitución que se dedica a la sucesión de la corona hay digamos un borrón, yo lo llamo un borrón bastante grande. Significa que el hombre tiene prevalencia sobre la mujer a la hora de suceder al trono. Creo que es una cosa que se tiene que corregir ya. Si no se ha hecho, no ha sido por culpa del Palacio de la Zarzuela, de la Casa del Rey, sino simplemente porque los partidos, enfrentados entre ellos, no son capaces de ponerse de acuerdo ni para algo tan necesario como eso. No debe haber ningún vestigio ni ninguna muestra de falta de igualdad, de derechos, y ese, desde luego, en torno a la Casa Real me parece que es muy importante y que no se debe mantener ni un minuto más.
Mi nombre es Iman Rashidi, soy corresponsal en Países Bajos para medios españoles y llevo unos 5 años en el país cubriendo todo tipo de temáticas, desde la política hasta la cultura y la diversidad de la sociedad neerlandesa. Aprovechando este 8 de marzo, me gustaría tirar un poquito para casa y llamar la atención sobre las dificultades de ser mujer en el periodismo. En lo que a mí me afecta, una de las cosas más incómodas con las que he tenido que lidiar son el acoso en Internet y en la vida real. Creo que es indescriptible esa inseguridad que se siente al estar detrás de una cámara y que se te acerquen para decirte cualquier cosa que te haga sentirte incómoda, silbarte o incluso pedirte el número de teléfono mientras estás tratando de hacer tu trabajo. Algo inimaginable con nuestros compañeros hombres, y lamentablemente es algo que he visto en contextos muy diferentes, desde Países Bajos o Bélgica hasta mi etapa previa en Oriente Próximo. Pero estos 2 años de pandemia, ese acoso se ha trasladado a la red con insultos, estigmatización, discursos del odio que mezclan sexismo y racismo. Son generalmente ataques que subrayan tu género cuando se trata de artículos sobre la política, deportes, derechos humanos o temas sobre las minorías. No sé, he leído frases como lo que yo te haría si te tuviera delante, o los que me lo mezclan todo, ¿no? Pues, ¿qué puede decir una mora? Seguro que tu marido te dicta las cosas o los artículos. En fin, sexualizan nuestro trabajo, se enfocan en nuestra apariencia física y en nuestros antecedentes étnicos o culturales en lugar de criticar nuestro trabajo, que al final es lo único que nos debe vincular con los lectores, con el debate público. El problema con estas prácticas, creo, es la consiguiente autocensura. Se amenaza con silenciar la voz de las mujeres periodistas, que al final evitemos ir a ciertas coberturas para no pasar ese mal trago. Esto, sumado a la precariedad laboral, otro tema que pues puede dar para varios vídeos, solo tienen una consecuencia, y es sobre la calidad del periodismo, que no deja de ser un derecho de la sociedad, y más en estos tiempos de creciente desinformación.
Hola, me llamo Marian Terpstra y soy la editora de esta revista. Es una revista que editamos en los Países Bajos sobre España. Y bueno, hasta un par de años no me he fijado mucho en que soy mujer o en el papel de las mujeres. Pero cada vez más, ahora que tenemos una serie sobre la historia de España, yo creo que es muy importante también fijar en el papel de las mujeres. Y bueno, en la serie que hemos tenido o que estamos haciendo, hemos hablado sobre Isabel, más que sobre Fernando, hemos hablado sobre Juana, y ahora tenemos algo sobre Carlos V, y bueno, también hablamos de las mujeres alrededor de él. Y bueno, si te fijas en esto, vas a descubrir cosas mucho más interesantes que no sabe mucha gente. Y bueno, entonces me gusta mucho hacerlo. Y como he dicho, no es porque soy mujer, pero es porque es una parte de la historia, una parte de España que conocemos pocos. Y yo creo que es muy interesante hacerlo. Entonces, esto es. Muchas gracias.
Voy a empezar con el informe de la Federación de Asociaciones de la Prensa de España sobre la información periodística. Este oficio es cada vez más femenino. Entre los contratados el año pasado había paridad absoluta entre hombres y mujeres, pero entre los 7.400 parados registrados por la Federación de Asociaciones de la Prensa, el 65% eran mujeres. Sigue existiendo el techo de cristal en cuanto a cargos directivos, no hay naturalmente ninguna cuota ni se la espera, y lo que es evidente es que en los cargos intermedios sí que hay muchas mujeres, pero naturalmente a ellas se les dan ocupaciones donde no se brilla especialmente. Hay otro dato que quisiera aportar de la Plataforma para la Defensa de la Libertad de Información. De cada 3 puestos directivos en el mundo de la prensa en España, 2 están ocupados por hombres y 1 por mujeres, y es solamente en los cargos intermedios donde se alcanza paridad. Solo el 3,8% de las encuestadas por esta plataforma considera segura su promoción. El 53,7% considera que hay muchas más exigencias por ser mujer que por ser hombre para, sobre todo, aspirar a una promoción. Y el 66,5% de las personas encuestadas considera que los colegas masculinos ganan más por igual trabajo. A las mujeres siempre se les dan los cargos, digamos, más tediosos o donde se brilla menos. Este dato también se confirma, por ejemplo, en unos datos procedentes de Francia de una audiencia realizada por el Club Media Club El. El 73,7% de las documentalistas son mujeres y el 85% son reporteros. En la República Federal Alemana también hay datos muy significativos del Ministerio de Familia y Mujer de enero del año actual. Solo en 2 periódicos, en el Tageszeitung y en la revista Stern, la mitad de los puestos directivos son mujeres.
Hi, my name is Rowan Blight. I am 31 years old and I am a writer, journalist, and an all-round content creator for television, podcasts, and online platforms. And I started off back in 2011 as a blogger, and I blogged about lifestyle, about life, beauty, but also about social justice. And I was able to create that blogging experience and create real professional jobs out of it, which is how I got here. And my why I started in journalism or in media was because I wanted to share and tell stories of the women in my life that I had been missing. I wanted to inspire them, but also wanted to be inspired by them through media. And because of the lack of representation that I always experienced as a young girl, as a young Black woman in the Netherlands, that was my motivation to do it on my own, to just start and get going. And that has always been my why, and that has been the reason why I came up with this campaign back in 2017. It was a fun journalistic campaign, but also a campaign that went viral. And because of it, I received a lot of backlash, a lot of personal backlash, and a lot of personal threats. And that was surprising, and that was the reason why I almost lost my why and my fun in creating media and in being a journalist. Then I became a mom, and becoming a mom made me realize that a lot of things don't matter. For example, sometimes people's opinions just don't matter, and you should just go for it, because people will always have opinions. And of course, I have to think about my safety and about my sanity at the same time. But I shouldn't be scared to do what I love to do, and that's creating media, creating content, and be a journalist. We still have a long way to go in the Netherlands, a very long way, and I think as journalists as a whole, we have a lot of challenges ahead of us. For example, if we talk about fake news, echo chambers, filter bubbles, there's a lot happening right now where a lot of things that we have to take into account, especially also the safety of journalists and being able to do your job, especially as a woman. As a journalist, there is this challenge. As a woman, there comes this extra challenge. And if you're a black woman, whoa, that challenge exceeds every expectation, you could say. But I also have to close this story off by telling you that I also am inspired by the women that I see all around me that are becoming editors-in-chiefs of large magazines, Dutch magazines, of large platforms, and a lot of women just going at it on their own. Those things inspire me and keep me going, and that's what I wanted to share with you today. Thank you.
Bueno, mi nombre es Mayte Carrasco, soy directora de documentales y escritora. En el año 2012 fundé una productora que se llama The Big Story Films y a través de esa productora pues produzco y dirijo contenido para cine y televisión, sobre todo pues con el enfoque en conflictos bélicos y derechos humanos. Anteriormente pues he sido corresponsal en zona de conflicto y he estado pues en las zonas más peligrosas del planeta, como Afganistán, como Mali, la guerra de Libia, la revolución en Egipto y sobre todo la guerra de Siria, ¿no? Por la guerra de Siria pues recibí varios premios internacionales y nacionales. Aquí en España el IRIS, que es un premio pues de la Academia de las Artes y de la Televisión en España, premio ONAS, o el premio del Centro Internacional de Prensa. Además pues con los documentales, los últimos trabajos que he realizado, he coproducido Afganistán, La Tierra Herida, una serie de archivo de 4 capítulos que también ha tenido el premio Grimme Prize, que es uno de los más importantes en Alemania. Yo creo que las mujeres desempeñamos una labor en esta profesión que está irrumpiendo, ¿no? En los últimos años cada vez somos más las que estamos haciendo este trabajo, pero siempre tenemos la sensación de que tenemos que esforzarnos más y de que tenemos que luchar más para cobrar lo mismo, sobre todo, ¿no? Para que se nos considere igual y bueno, y tenemos que vencer todavía la barrera de la invisibilidad, mesas redondas donde no somos invitadas o premios, ¿no? Donde no estamos presentes. Por eso hace unos meses creé una asociación que se llama la Asociación Contamos el Mundo, la Asociación de Mujeres de Internacional, que cuentan el mundo y que son corresponsales, que están en todos los puntos del planeta, que son de todos los medios españoles y estamos unidas, somos unas 200, estamos unidas para tratar de vencer esa invisibilidad juntas, para tratar de ayudarnos y para tratar de unidas poder llegar a romper pues todos esos obstáculos que todavía hay, ¿no? Es una asociación que es intergeneracional, están pues desde Carmen Sarmiento, Rosa María Calaf, ¿no? Las pioneras, María Dolores Massana, pues también mujeres que ya llevan mucho tiempo, tienen mucha experiencia, como Mavi Doñate, como Ana Bosch, ¿no? Muchísimas, y también Ángeles Espinosa y bueno, y también gente que estamos haciendo documentales del mundo del audiovisual, Paula Palacios, y entonces yo creo que es un buen momento para nosotras para crear redes, para comunicarnos también con otras asociaciones y para comunicarle al mundo que estamos ahí, que sepan que existimos.
Yeah. Thank you very much. It could have been a bit shorter, but we really had a hard time editing. We really didn't want to cut too many of the things that were said. We did cut some few interventions, but I think it was really essential to leave most of it. We're really very proud of this documentary and of the generosity of all these women, and it's amazing the amount of topics that it raises. I have a list here of the main topics that have been raised during the documentary, but I would like to pick up, we don't have a lot of time, so I would like to pick up where Mayte has left, Mayte Carrasco has left, and ask Aurora, about the power of getting together and fighting for common causes, because as you have seen, several women mentioned different associations. Gallach is also involved in some associations. Mayte, you also, Aurora, are very active. What is this? The relevance of doing this, of getting together and fighting? Aren't there too many associations doing different things? What do you think about this? You're obviously making a big effort. What are your thoughts about this?
Well, first of all, I should say that journalists are actually very individualistic, and in some cases are even a little bit unsolidaric because you are looking for news and you're looking for scoops, so we don't always help each other. But we women journalists are a little bit different because we have a common goal. And this is fighting against this invisibility, which was already said by Mayte. So we thought being alone, it won't help. We have to make a kind of sisterhood, a kind of network of journalists working for different media with different experiences, with different ages. So we are actually thinking about creating a kind of lobby which isn't necessarily against men, but a lobby wanted to say, hey, we are here, we are experts, we have the same experiences you have, male colleagues. We've been in many different and dangerous places as you, men colleagues. We've read a lot, we've been reading lots of good articles, we do exist, and we are really tired of being always the second fiddle. So we just want to say we are as intelligent or as stupid as you are, and we have the right to be in the same spot, in the same colloquiums, in the same panels you are. We have the right to open up, to show that we are as well prepared and as well educated as you are. This is for me the important issue, because in most cases, men protect themselves. And as some of the panelists said already, they are getting very afraid because this movement, this new feminist movement is growing, is getting stronger, and we are really being a kind of, for them, a kind of monster who is not ashamed anymore, who is not shy anymore, and we just vindicate, and especially in this day, we are important. You have to count on us and count with us.
Yeah, absolutely. There are, sorry for going so fast, but there's another couple of issues that I would like to, we can't mention them all, but there's another couple of issues that I think are quite shocking. One of them is, of course, the gender pay gap. We have some figures from Eurostat from 2020, where it gives a ranking of the countries in Europe. I don't know if you have these figures, but it's quite worrying. The average in the European Union is still 13%. So this means women are less 13% paid less, 13% less than men. But the top of this, the lowest gender gap was recorded in Luxembourg with a 0.7%, almost no gender gap. Actually, I've been surprised because the Netherlands doesn't have a good record, a very good record. It's below the average, worse than the average. And also countries like France, Germany, Austria, Italy. No, Italy is very good. I mean, Austria, Germany, France, Netherlands, they are around 15%, 18%, that kind of. I don't know, have you looked into these figures, Alejandra? What do you think? Or
well, I did have. And, well, I think we can explain it that Dutch women are working part-time a lot more. You see, for example, that the gap is less in the Norwegian and the Sweden and Iceland, and that's because they have a better system of childcare. And I think it's logic that if women don't work for a few years, well, normally you get a little bit more every year. So you miss those years, and then it's logic that you don't earn the same thing in this system. So this system maybe has to change because the consequences that we as women have less pension also. And that's because we're working on two different stages.
Right.
Because men still don't do what women do for the children. So I think the motherhood should also be paid more attention. And I think we need to create a system also in the pension system and the AOW, how you call it, well, like pension. We have to see if a woman has been a mother as well. Why does she have to have a less pension than the man who stayed at home, who worked while she stayed at home and cared of the children? So
Yeah, well,
I understand very much the gap in Holland, but I think we have to change
that
the
is
system.
a good explanation.
And it's not that I think that how you call it, where you work, your the werkgever, your employer has to pay you more when you didn't work for 5 years. It's logical that, well, when you come back, but we have to change the system in another way, I think. And that's, for example, doing more in the childcare, like or that children have a program after school, which they have in many countries, and we don't have them as other countries have.
Of course, there's well, that's one thing. I think in Spain we have quite good figures, perhaps because in public policies have been very determined for the last almost 20 years or whatever, to really work on this and to really, have plans in public companies and so on. I think that has done really a lot for the good figures that Spain has. I want to mention another issue before we run out of time that is also for me very alarming and that we mentioned before. As you've seen, a lot of the younger women, the younger ones especially, mention this issue of their insecurity. This famous imposter syndrome, the scarce self-esteem. These wonderful, educated young women, and they feel they are less than men. For me, it's the symbol of something that is being very wrongly done. These women shouldn't feel. But it's a general. You talk to a lot of people, younger or older, and a lot of women feel like that. You feel you don't deserve. If you have a good post, you almost feel you don't deserve that post, and someone is going to come one day and is going to blow your bluff, and you're going. What do you have any thoughts about this, Alejandra?
I agree. I totally agree with what they say, and I think there are several things that matter in this issue. First of all, there is increasingly more journalists that work as freelancers, and that is, Aurora was mentioning before when she worked in El Confidencial, that the comments would be posted in the article itself, and now the comments are within your social media profile. So as a journalist, you're not backed by your boss, let's say. So you're your own boss, and that gives a lot of sense of insecurity. I think when you belong to a newsroom, you have some kind of safety net that you lose when you are in such a precarious situation. So this the current situation of our jobs as journalists, it affects everyone, of course, women and men. But I can imagine that women will feel a bit more insecure because at the same time you don't have a woman as a role model. It's not that often that you encounter a boss on the other side of the telephone line when you're selling your article who's a woman as well and who understands your point of view and the message you want to address with the piece you are trying to sell. Mm-hmm. So that would be another thing. And then the third thing I think is because it's this job is quite a bit of it's a bit like coming into a lion room. You have to really fight for your piece very often, and you have to convince others. And then I think that the male culture from decades before has settled some kind of reaction of, well, you do your thing, you show me what you've done, and if we don't like it, we don't publish it. Mm-hmm. And as an editor in this website that we are running for 7 years already, I really try hard to tell the journalist who's going to write a piece for us, call me whenever you need anything. Because we're here to do this job together. If you fail, we fail. If the piece you're publishing is not well fact-checked, then it's going to be my problem as well. So I think as a woman journalist, I feel a bit the need to support them on the process. And that's something that we have to maybe invest more time on training journalists, because the journalism is not really a career in itself. You learn when you work. So,
Sophia, do you have something to add about? You can talk about Germany as well, because you are from Germany after all, but also at a European level as a representative of EUNIC.
Yeah, I don't have any specifics for Germany, and I don't work myself in the media field. But last September, for example, Ursula von der Leyen addressed this in her State of the Union speech, which was actually, I think, the first ever recommendation, like calling to the member states on how to ensure the safety for journalists and media professionals, and like several aspects were heightened. And I mean, first of all, like acknowledging the increasing threats and attacks against journalists, especially heightened in COVID times. I mean, we all saw pictures of trucks that went to COVID protests and had to take off the signs that they are journalists. But it also highlighted the heightened vulnerability of women and journalists who report about equality issues and minorities. Just calling to the member states to strengthen institutions and structures that empower women, but also to ensure that they are actually safe, because I think you also said it, like this, it's such a threat to democracy. I mean, it's a threat to them, like to their physical well-being, but then it's a threat to democracy and the freedom of expression. So
absolutely.
There's a heightened awareness, and now with Ukraine and very courageous journalists from Russia were still trying to fight Putin's propaganda machine.
Alejandra?
Yeah, I was surprised when the coverage in Ukraine that, for instance, in Euronews, we were watching the whole coverage last week. Most of the women who are there in the field, of the journalists, they're women actually. Yeah. So in Kiev, in the border with Poland, and I can imagine that they went there again. Because of Euronews, what if there would have been a freelance? And there was another journalist, a man, saying, "I'm here in Kiev. If anybody needs my information, please tell me so I can work for you." And
Javier Luque told me yesterday, we were exchanging emails about today and so on, and he, the first person that spoke here today, that they were in IPI, they were tracking, working, that he didn't have any figures, because I asked him, can you give me something that we could mention? And he said, well, we're still working on this. We're tracking the women journalists who are in Ukraine and in Russia, trying to report about this. We don't have more time. I'm really sorry, because there are so many other notes and things that we have spoken about and discussed. But I would just like to end with this same line of what is happening and is taking really our time and our minds and our hearts during these hard times in Europe. And we would like to dedicate this event to the thousands of women journalists who are doing their work at this very moment and who may feel fear or may be threatened. From the comfort of this theater, of this wonderful institution, of this city of Amsterdam, this safe, democratic country, our thoughts go to them. Thank you.